Most of us were thrown into online teaching. Some of us did pretty good, others struggled a little bit. Here's what I learned with online teaching, along with the software and apps that can help you when you return to your classroom to increase your student engagement. Hey, it's Travis from Newton EdTech. I create tutorials to make teaching more engaging with less stress. Every year, teachers reflect on their past performance. We figure out, what went well? What do we need to work on? What didn't go so well? What kind of things do we need to tweak? I'll be talking about my experiences with online teaching, in going digital, with student engagement, and how I also dealt with assessments. With some of the tips I give you today, you will be able to implement new strategies for the next year. I have included the timestamps below if you'd like to visit any of the areas in this video. Have you ever thought about how much time you spend at the copy machine? Or when you get to school early just to make copies and you find out there's another teacher in line who seems like they're printing a book? Or maybe you go there and of course there's a sign, "It's jammed again." Well, I'm used to that quite a bit. But the cool thing is that now that we've gone digital, we're doing online, that's a thing of the past. During virtual teaching, everything is online. We have fillable PDFs, we have Google Docs, we've got Google Slides, we have presentations, we have Google Classroom, or maybe some of you might be using a different LMS. We even have our assessments online. So we're one step closer to getting to the paperless classroom. My goal for the next school year is to replace a lot of the paper assignments with digital assignments. I'd like to create a digital notebook, also use digital portfolios, give all my exams in a digital format, and then of course having digital presentations I think are great as well. I will have all my students turn in all their work through Google Classroom. And that makes life a lot easier for me. It makes grading easier. It makes it easier for the students to access their assignments and view them. And then also, if a student is absent, they have immediate access to it. So that way, you won't have to have a special folder just for your students that are absent. Next is classroom engagement. Now, this varies depending on the grade level that you teach. If you're in the elementary levels, a lot of those students were eager to participate and show their faces. They wanted to be on camera through a Google Meet or Zoom. Now in high school, which is what I teach, I had a hard time getting the students to interact. Most students had their cameras off and wouldn't even participate by voice. They would only type in the chat. So it made engagement a little bit more difficult. Getting used to Zoom meetings and Google Meets was also very difficult, but it took some getting used to. We survived and we persevered. But I will tell you what, it sure made me appreciate the times when I'm in class. I do miss seeing the students' faces. I do miss getting to work with the students one-on-one, learning their stories and learning what needs they have in order to succeed. You just can't replace that with online teaching. And yes, I still even miss some of those challenging students that I had. So how did we keep the students engaged? Well, we used apps and software. The software that I like to use is, the main ones was Google and Zoom. And with that, we had them participate in the chat. And also over Google and Zoom, we had them use Pear Deck and Nearpod. Now what those two do is they make the presentation a lot more interactive. And of course, we also had them watch videos through Edpuzzle, which allows you to have the students respond and answer questions in the videos. One of the best ways I like to get students engaged is to have them do presentations. Now, I know students do not like to do presentations, but I find it's one of the best ways to build their communication skills, which are the greatest thing. This is something they're going to need all the way through high school and further into their careers. And it also allows them to showcase their knowledge and creativity. During the pandemic, I had the students use Flipgrid. Now, Flipgrid is a great digital presentation software that allows the students to record a presentation, and then the other students, their peers, are able to comment and evaluate that. I find out this is a great way for the students to practice presentations and get feedback from their peers. Now, when I plan to return to class, I'm going to start out with Flipgrid presentations because I think it's a great way to warm up. It helps reduce the anxiety because as the students are getting to know each other, they can learn about each other through Flipgrid. And then as they do these presentations towards the end, they'll be more comfortable in doing live presentations in front of their students. I also like Flipgrid presentations for SPED and English language learners, as this gives them the practice and it gives them the security of being able to do it in front of a camera and allows them to still complete the assignments. Now, if you're getting any value, please hit the like button and also consider subscribing. This helps other viewers find my channel. Now, the biggest question is, how are we going to do assessments? Now, when we were in class, I would give multiple choice tests, maybe short answers, matching, do vocabulary, maybe a problem sheet, maybe an essay. But now that everybody's at home taking the tests have now become open book, open notes, ask a friend, or maybe just Google the answer. I noticed more cheating and plagiarism this past year during the pandemic than any of my previous years. I feel like the students are just cheating themselves out of an education. All they want to do is just find the right answer. So this led me to change how I give assessments. I started taking these tests that I would give in class, made them lower point values, and also made them assignments. The way I rolled them out is I rolled them out using Quizzes and Kahoot. Now, Quizzes and Kahoot, if you haven't heard them, they're great to try. Now, what they do is they actually gamify the experience, and students compete with each other, and you'll find out after the first game the students will love and they will ask for it all the time. So with the unit exams, I use multiple choice questions. I tell them that it's open book, open notes because they're going to use that anyway. But what I do is I rewrite the questions to make them a little bit more difficult to Google, and I will also implement a time limit so that way they can't search up all the questions and answers. I also noticed that I gave less multiple choice tests and started giving more performance tasks such as projects and presentations. These, of course, are harder to cheat on, and they require application of concepts that the students have learned, and it's not just rote memorization. This also gave the students a lot more options on how to complete the assignment. They just had to follow the rubric. And what I noticed is that I started getting more quality work from the students. And the students seemed to enjoy it a lot more. There are certain things that we took for granted when we were teaching from school that we didn't really realize how much we appreciated it until we started teaching online. Since most of us teachers will be fully back in the classroom, I thought we can learn from our experiences during online teaching and be able to apply some of the methods that we learned to improve our teaching in the classroom. Engagement has been more difficult this past year, but through the use of apps and software, we're able to overcome that and find new ways to connect with the students. Stay tuned, I'll be creating tutorials on how you can use some of these apps and software, so please consider subscribing. I know most of us can't wait to get back in the classroom. We'll be fully charged after summer and ready to go, see those students' faces, and apply the material that we learned from online teaching to the classroom. And my question to you is, how are you going to level up your game next year? What do you want to do to make yourself a better teacher? Make sure you take a well-deserved break and get started planning early. So the question of the day is, what is your favorite app that you used last year? Please write it down in the comments below. I would love to hear. And with that, have a great day.